All right. We're testing here. I know that my audio from my mic is going through, but for some reason I cannot get sound to play through my system audio. So let's play around with that for a minute. There we go. Check 1 2 1 2. Welcome, friends and non-friends, enemies, acquaintances, Discord fam. This is Alicia here, and I am just doing the gruesome task, as usual, of configuring OBS to get good audio out of my DAW. This is an endless quest. Anyways, I hope you will join me today. I figured in celebration of this whole month if you didn't know, there is a splice competition going on in support of my new release from Black Octopus Intonations. It's actually been out on Black Octopus for a while now, but it has just come out on Splice. And if you totally don't know anything about it, they're doing an awesome competition with us. There are prizes of cash, plugins, swag, all kinds of stuff. So today I figured this would be kind of a casual little workshop on how to make your own wavetables in Serum. And I kind of wanted to just chat a little bit and give people a chance to get into this stream. This is my first time trying to stream to Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, so I'm not really sure how it's working. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure my computer could handle having all those tabs open and doing this. So we're just going to do it, and we're going to see how it goes. And if you would like to chat, I will not be using the Twitch chat. So do not talk to me there. I'm not in there. Where am I? I'm in Discord, EDMP Discord, the motherlode. If you've not been in the Discord, you can reach it by going to discord.gg/EDMP. It is right on your screen, and come in and chat with us. There is a channel called Splice Competition, and you need to have a Splice competitor role to chat. But if at any point you would like me to answer a question or listen to your whip or deal with your girl or boy problems or whatever, I am here for you, and I will be answering all questions here. So hi, everyone. Before we start, as I said, since people are just coming in, some people may be surprised to see me streaming with Ableton. If you have seen any of my other streams, I usually or often stream with Logic. So I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about why I use either one or any one, and maybe for those of you who are still on the fence about producing and learning, the eternal question: what is the best DAW? Well, everyone on my server will give you a different opinion, but actually the best DAW is not just the one that you're the most comfortable with, but it's the one that makes the most sense for the way that you think and the way that you express your creativity. What do I mean by that? All right, for instance, there are some DAWs, and for those of you who are totally just my grandma and watching me on Facebook and you have no idea what I'm talking about, a DAW is a digital audio workstation. It's the program that we're using here. The reason that I use Logic so often is not really a stylistic choice in any other way except for the fact that I do a lot of recording. Logic has a feature called take folders where you can record a bunch of takes and just condense them into one easy to access folder. There are some other digital audio workstations that have this feature, but Logic is something I've used for a while. It's easy, it's great for recording. Now, Ableton, which I'm going to use today, is much better, in my opinion, for little glitches and complex audio edits. It's definitely really fast to time stretch, to warp. If you're looking to really mess up audio in a quick, easy, and functional way, Ableton is really great. And it is also more common, which is something, if you like to collab with people, to take into consideration. Is knowing how to use Ableton is kind of like speaking English in the music world. Most people have used Ableton. It's a very popular DAW, so I will say that 99% of the time when I'm collabing with people, I'm using Ableton, and just makes it a little bit easier than bouncing out stems. There's lots of other DAWs. Everyone has their favorite. I know some people who are wizards at FL Studio. So again, if you express yourself a certain way and that DAW naturally goes a certain way, it's probably the best one for you. Cool. So hello to Tarnith, to Bit Nomad, to Daysbreaker, Alchem13, Barrett, Droid Effects. Hi, everyone. I think we have enough people to sort of dive in and get started. So again, it's really hard to teach an ongoing stream when you have a bunch of different levels of people in the audience. I'm going to try and make it interesting. If you have used Serum and its wavetable thing and you're very familiar with this, I may be repeating stuff you already know. But I will say I was just at Berkeley College in Valencia teaching this, and even the amazing professor in Canty, I showed him a thing or two that he didn't know. So I guess sometimes I think that everybody learns how to use things different ways. Everyone discovers different tricks. So I'm going to kind of take you through the wavetable section, and you might find that something that you use that you didn't really understand is there. If not, whatever. Hey, Jurgen, so good to see you guys. I'm excited to really hear your guys' whips too. So after I'm done, this is not going to be super long. This is going to be a pretty short stream. But after I'm done, I would love to hear anyone's whips. It doesn't even have to do with the competition. If you're in the Discord, hit me up, DM me, and I will go on stream. I will also answer questions and give advice. So, first of all, let me just say that I think that wavetable design is kind of the next future. We have sampling, which is classic, foundation of a lot of hip hop music. You got synthesis, which is, you know, in people's minds who don't make music, usually linked to the 80s and guitars and analog crazy glittering racks. And now you have custom wavetable making in an easy to use format, which to me is really exciting because it's like sampling and you can use complex audio, but then you can use the limitless properties of synthesis to make a new sound. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to open up Serum here. Now, this looks a little different maybe for some of you. This is my Serum skin. It actually comes with the Intonations pack. Seems like I need to include a mic mount. I've got floppy mic syndrome right now. So I have it. It's exactly the same. It's just purple because I like purple. Thank you, Frost, for designing this for me. My God, this mic is flop city. Okay, here we go. So Serum is really cool because you can use presets, of course. You can use wavetables, of course. But you can also put your own wavetables in, and you can create them either from scratch or using source material. So I'm just going to show you that, and yes, Bit Nomad points out my keytar is still relevant. Thank you. I have 4 keytars. Don't even talk to me about keytar relevance. We are relevant. We are heard. We will not be ignored. Hashtag keytar massive. Anyways, so again, I'm going to just show you guys a few of my presets from Intonations, and these are all made using vocal sources as wavetables. That's something that I wanted to do in my pack that I haven't seen people do before, and this is the kind of stuff I'm going to show you how to do today. So this one is my favorite personally from the pack. It's called Deep Growl, and it's made from 2 different wavetables of me. It's pretty fat, right? So if we actually deconstruct it and we take it down to, in fact, I'm just going to reset it because I don't want to get it. It's using these 2 wavetables called Danger and Skirt, which are literally me saying those things. So let's look at Danger. Danger. You know, it's very blurred and weird, but that's what it sounds like. And then we've got the one that's called Skirt. Well, that one's a little more obvious. And, you know, once I put the 2 together, done a lot of processing and effects, you end up with that patch that I've showed you. Here's a couple more. I really like making bass patches. Here's some leads. All right. Anyways, I'm going to stop yanking my own chain here and show you how to actually make them. Let's get to it. So let's go back into a default screen. Let's pretend you're going from square one. What is this magic? See this little pencil here? This is the key to starting to make your own wavetable. If I open this window here, we are now in the magic room. Now, there's several different ways that you can start here. You may be wondering. Down here is a picture of all the different frames of your wavetable. We are on the default basic wavetable, so it's only 1 frame. Now, you can think of these frames almost like still frames in a stop motion animation. If you're making a stop motion animation, you're setting up every single frame, and then when you run them together, you get a cool animated film. So that's what we're doing by making wavetables. We're creating different snapshots, and you can have up to 256 snapshots that you can create movement between using the wavetable position. So first off, this is a little bit familiar to some people. these are different shapes. If you're drawing automation or, creating LFO shapes in a lot of synths, you have these tools. If you click on these tools, you can actually draw right in the wavetable. So if you wanted to make a wavetable from scratch and make it interesting, you could theoretically hit this plus button, keep adding frames, and, manually change them up and down. So let's just pretend I'm spending hours on this, creating the best sound you've ever heard. Let's just pretend. Now, in order for you to hear any motion, why don't I hear anything? It sounds very static. Well, you have to be moving the wavetable position. So I'm going to just throw this LFO on this so that we can hear it as we're playing it. Set it to like 1 bar. All right. It's kind of horrible. To be honest with you, I don't do this like super often, because a lot of the time, like if I want some crazy saw wave, there are, billions and billions of wavetables that you can get for Serum that are better. But if you have a very specific cool idea with a shape, mess around with here and don't be afraid. I'm about to show you the more advanced functions to smooth them out in a second, so bear with me. But I want to show you all the different sections first. So I'm going to go back to square one. Up here is the FFT area. That would be fast Fourier transforms, which is just simply, for those of you who don't know, a fancy name for an algorithm that separates a sound into its spectral components. And in this case, what this is a table where you can draw in the harmonics of your sound manually. So what does that look like? Well, you can watch the wavetable changing as I'm introducing the harmonics. So, and you can hear them coming in as overtones. So, there is a very scientific way, of course, and formulas that you can employ to design a perfectly harmonic, wavetable. Let's just go back. It's gonna go. So if I like this, if I find a shape I like and I just want to change it, you can go into here. So both of those are good ways to draw wavetables from scratch. But that's not 100% what I want to do with you guys today. What I want to do is show you how you can import audio sources to make interesting wavetables. So to do that, first I'm actually going to rewind back into the main audio window, and we're just going to make an interesting sounding wavetable to start. There's so many different things you can use, of course. In my pack, I actually have a bunch of different tones that are sang in different notes. They're all tagged. This just, for the sake of argument, this is going to make it really easy for us because we're going to know the root note, and I can show you guys the easy formula. So let's take a few syllables and let's make kind of an ooh, ah kind of thing. So we're going to use, just to make it easier, C3. So let's see. I'm going to put in... whoops, I don't want to put that in a MIDI track. Give me an audio track. All right. So we're going to put in this. Then we're going to look for another one in C3, maybe an And again, of course, this can be anything you want. I'm just using this as a case because we know that these are both in C3 and we can do something interesting. So now what I'm going to do, before I even get into the wavetable mode, is I'm going to make a new wavetable from these tones that just is kind of weird and interesting. So let's do that. Ooh. 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 All right, again, not the most interesting, but for the sake of expediency, we're going to pretend that this is what we want. I'm going to, crossfade it a little. And then I'm going to maybe play with the time of this so that's a little shorter. Okay, so now we have this merged audio. Ooh. So that's going to be the source for a wavetable. So now I'm going to, just because I don't know where the heck that is, there it is. We are going to import it in to Serum and make a wavetable out of it. So, in fact, I want to just 0 this. Go back in. So interesting. So now we're going to import this. Here's the thing. We know that this is in C3. So one of the easiest ways that you can start by using a formula, which is the calculations by which Serum imports the wavetable. Let's maybe actually talk about that for a sec. So the formula bar is kind of cool. You can create things like squares, saws, triangles using these algorithms, which are just kind of preset. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and dissect the algebra for you, but just know that these are formulas for creating shapes. Now, to use a MIDI note as a formula, you can actually just type the note right in. So first I'm going to type in C3. So now it's telling me it's using this note C3 formula to split it. So now, if I bring this in, so now we've got the raw format of the wavetable that I just made from that sample. Now, remember, you can also do fun things before you bring it in, like post-process it. You could put a bunch of distortion on it. You can change it. You can do anything you want. But just remember this. The reason I'm saying it is the wavetables are mono. So if you do crazy stereo processing and then you try and import it as a wavetable, you're not going to get the same sound that you would be getting if you were, if you had a stereo way of expressing this. So now I've got this wavetable. C3 is just the quickest, easiest formula. Now, what if you don't know the note, or what if you want to mess around with different formulas on purpose because you like to break rules to get interesting sounds, which I totally encourage. So you actually have different formulas here that have nothing to do with typing in MIDI notes. And let me explain to you what they are. So let's say you wanted to import a simple sine wave, or let's say a saw wave with a vibrato, like just a single note that goes boom. That would be when you use dynamic pitch 0 snap. It's for simple sounds that have very sort of clear pitch tracking on them, and you want your resampled wavetable to follow that. That's dynamic pitch 0 snap. So I would not use this for a vocal because it is going to try and snap all the micro notes in my voice or tones or fluctuations to 0 crossing, and that can be a very artificial sound. So the one I would recommend more is dynamic pitch follow, in which case it creates a smoother sound. It's starting to pull it in. It's not trying to snap it to 0 crossing. So that would be the mode I would use. However, if you know the note, I like it better this way. You can sometimes say, if you said C2, if I said this note, we import it in. Can you guys hear what happens? It just imports it at a different pitch. So you can play with that depending on the effects you want to create later. Again, none of this stuff is really right or wrong because you can get interesting effects from doing anything wrong, other than redlining an analog mixing board. Do not ever do that, please. But of course, this kind of sounds like not great. I wouldn't use this in a song. It's buzzy, it's clicking. It needs some TLC. So we have some work to do to make this better. First of all, I can see that I have a bunch of 0 sort of like this is not much happening, right? I don't care about this. This part is kind of lame. So what we're going to do is actually remove these frames. You can click and shift click on these to select a region. And let's just say like this whole thing kind of sucks. I'm going to delete the first 5 frames. So I'm going to shift click, and you can either hit delete to delete a single frame, or add, remove multi-selection. So that's what I'm going to do to get rid of those 4. So now you got a nice, I don't even like that one. Let's take that one out. Now let's go to the end. Okay, the end looks good. So we've gotten rid of the initial dead zone, but it's still clicking. This is where we want to actually apply morphing. So this will help with the interpolation, or, the crossfading of the frames of the wavetable. So you can either do spectral morphing or crossfade morphing. And again, I don't know if it's a point for me to sit here and explain it. It's better to just listen. So let's crossfade. So that's what's just crossfading. It's already a little less sticky and annoying. So now let's try spectral. So right off the bat, starting by doing that is going to make it sound better. It's still quite buzzy, but here's some other fun things we can do. Now, these are pretty self-explanatory, but let me explain them just in case. Normalize each gained separately. This will take each frame of the wavetable and normalize it, but it'll treat it individually. So it'll normalize this differently. Normalize same, max from all frames. This is usually the one I like if I want a consistent wavetable, because it takes the most loud and equalizes every other volume to that. So let's do that. Okay, not much difference. I think I already removed the really quiet ones. If I hadn't, let's see if I can go back. So if I did this, you see how I have this now normalized same. Oh, I gotta select them. There we go. Don't forget to select them, or you'll look silly on stream. Normalize same. There we go. So now it's normalizing it to all frames. If I do it like the other way, let's see what happens to these dead frames. So now you see, in this case, we had this really quiet section, and now because we normalized it on a separate frame, it's made these ones louder instead of just averaging it to the max. So I still don't like that first frame. I'm going to take it back out. Now we can morph. I really like to morph sometimes a few times to see what. Now, here's where it actually gets smoother. Morphing has to do with interpolation, but you're still going to get buzzes and clicks because it's not doing anything to actually crossfade the edges of the frames. That you do that in here. So you can fade the edges, which is almost like individually crossfading each one to have a fade in and fade out. You can crossfade the edges between each other, which is what I want to do here. So let's do that. Now you can see that all the clicking has gone away. I could also, for a more staccato sound, I think, fade the edges like this. Still sounds grainy, but it's not clicking. Generally, obviously, if I want to preserve a more distorted sound, I would probably like fade the edges onto themselves so you still have that bite. If I wanted a smoother sound, I would crossfade. So we're going to keep it like that. Now, there's a lot of other cool options. I would highly recommend playing with this. You can resize your tables, which is kind of have really cool effects. So like, let's see. Right now, this is not going to do much because what this does is double the number of tables, but I already have 256, so it's not going to do much. But let's do. So now we've split the number of tables in half. It's got a different sound to it. It's really just for if you've imported it at the wrong pitch. But like I said, sometimes if you have a track, if you have a sound that is distorted or really cool and you mess with the size of the wavetables, you can again mess with the harmonics. So now let us play around a bit more. You can remove DC offset, which is, do we need to do this? Probably not. But for those of you who know about DC offset, sometimes if you're OCD like me, you just want to get the average of your wavetable hanging around 0. If you're using a crazy synth patch, you can sometimes be offset quite a bit to one side of 0 crossing or another. So let's just do that. Why not? All right. So for me, that's starting to get nice, right? It's interesting. It's wobbly. It has a lot of points that I can hear will be used to make interesting movement sound. So we're gonna say, I think I've showed you guys all the interesting stuff just in the import setting. So let's go out of here and start making it better. Now, there's a few things that you can actually do further from here to continue wavetable on wavetable on wavetable. It's basically layers of processing. But what some of you may not know is that you can apply processing within all these windows in Serum, and then you can freeze it, essentially, by rendering it, and then you can go over top of it. So what do I mean by that? Let's say we're using one of these warp modes, which are really fun and a good way to mess with the wavetable. For those of you who haven't tried this, this is a good way to just literally bend your wavetable. There's different modes. Explore all of them. The world is your oyster. We're going to play with mirror because it's obvious. So mirror, when bending it, will cause your wavetable to be like one of those Instagram filters. Whoa, whoa, look at me. Oh, trippy. So let's just say I really like this mirror thing, but I'm like, gosh, I really wish that I could do this and put the asymmetric on top of that. What would that sound like? Well, wonder no more. You too can make this happen. And we're going to go back to this mirror. And now we're going to say, render oscillator A warp. Bet you didn't see that coming. Boom. What does that do? Well, watch this. Now I turn off mirror. Look at what happened to our wavetable. It has been printed and resequenced as a mirror. So we have frozen that warp. So now I can apply my asymmetric bend on top of the mirror. And what if I say, oh man, I really like that stack, but I want another one? Spoiler alert, you can do it again. Oh! Whoa, this is getting too cool. I think I need my super stunner glasses. Excuse me. All right, now we have this. We can put a bend, we can keep going. So once you go back into the wavetable, of course, you know, it gets changed every time you do this, but so it's already starting to get a little bit neater and cooler. It's getting more interesting. It's like, and let's say, oh man, I'm going to have a long LFO that lasts for a bar. Now, we're going to do some cooler stuff in a second, but what I want you to start doing, if you are doing this at home, is start putting some processing on your wavetable that takes 1 bar. And I will show you why we're doing that shortly. But in the meantime, let's build up this wavetable so it sounds super fat and cool. Let's put some distortion on it. Something really dramatic. There we go. And maybe we'll put an LFO that lasts a bar on that. Let's do that. Make it bipolar, just like I like 'em. And we're going to stay away from stereo processing right now because what we're doing is creating processing change that we are then going to stack, and we are going to keep making our wavetable with these stacks. But remember, wavetables are mono. Do not do some crazy dubstep comb filter and then come crying to me because you've made it into a wavetable. It sounds like poo. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So we are going to play with another weird filter. Let's see, ring mod. Oh, cool. In fact, wow, this is kind of starting to sound like a riser, so let's just go there. Cool. And why not? Let's just let it. We'll put the drive there too. And let's compress it. Why not? Just put compressor on it. This cures everything. If you have a cold, put a compressor on it. If you can't sleep, put a compressor on it. All right, cool. So, are you ready for this? Now, remember what I told you. Everything we're doing is 1 bar long. And what we are about to do is resample this wavetable through all this processing back into Serum. So, let us do that. We're going to put it into oscillator B so we can just hear. So again, that is our 1 bar moving crazy processed wavetable. So we go up to menu again, resample to oscillator B. Now, what is in oscillator B? What is this magic? Let's turn all this off so we can just hear it. We've actually resampled the wavetable through 1 even bar of all processing and automations that we had on Serum. So now you have a brand new wavetable, ladies and gentlemen, that has been run through all this Serum processing and is now resampled, and it's ready for you to do it again. So, I mean, we could spend another hour doing this. I can just keep processing, resampling. You have the option to resample to A or B. So I usually like to pick the other oscillator. Otherwise, I have to go and remove all the routings and, lose track of that or whatever. Either way, you can save that wavetable. You can go into some other thing. It's really limitless. Then, we can go back in here and start editing. All right. So obviously we need to get some help. Let's go. And from here, I can really do interesting things like, for instance, here's where I can start messing around with resize tables to be double. Just gives it a different timbre. Or resize tables to be ooh. So we have now turned my voice going ooh, ooh, ah, ooh into what sounds like some sort of space alien VST Indy 500 race car, which I think is pretty cool. Anyways, we could also make any amount of things with this process, as you can see. Why don't we play around with this same concept and let's make like a really gnarly bass patch together. So I'm going to just initialize and let's import in this guy again. So still on C3 formula, great. All right, back to this lame basic wavetable. So basic, so much no. What are we going to do? This needs some serious TLC. First of all, let's take out the dead zone. Next, get rid of those dreadful edges. Let's play with some morphing. Cool. And let's play with some other things. Now remember, you're not limited to this. You can start playing between different oscillators the same way that you would play with regular patches. You can, let's just say, I'm going to go with classic, square saw, and oscillator B. So I could do something like have oscillator B be FM modulated by this crazy wavetable in A. Ooh, that's starting to get nice. So all I did was put this down an octave and get modulation. Now, the cool thing about these wavetables is, you know, you don't have to use all of them anytime. This is why we have this fun wavetable position knob and why we have an FM control knob. You can really just find that sweet spot. So let's figure out where that is. I kind of like that middle section there. So let's make a little tasty bass kind of growl out of that by going like this. Trigger. Smooth it out a little bit. It's getting pretty gnarly already, and we can play with the unison voicing either in the FM source or the other one just to make it more interesting. Now, of course, what I recommend and what most producers I know recommend. Oh, hold on. Producer tip glasses. Most of us recommend layering your basses with a clean sub in order to get the best, most controlled sound in your bass. Obviously, we don't want to be putting weird stereo effects and band passes and all these things on a sub so much. You can use the direct out sub in Serum. Sometimes I just like to pick my own sub and control the envelope of it more, you know. So this, I don't usually use this, but let's just... So that's already getting kind of nuts, in my opinion. And I'm wearing the nerd glasses, so my opinion is really important right now. Okay, so now we're going to make this hyphy, so I need to put the hyphy glasses back on. So we're going to put that, we're going to give that a little on. We're going to compress the hell out of this. Cool. All right, so that's getting nice and gnarly. And again, if I want to reprocess that, I can use fun stuff like this dimension expander. But it's not really going to make a difference when I resample the wavetable. Why? Wavetables are mono. So, I really like this, but I don't care about that right now. So let's go resample to oscillator B. All right, what do we have here? Let's turn that off. It's pretty gnarly for just being a mono wavetable. It's been resampled. So you can imagine we can now sit here for an unlimited, unspecified period of time just making really, really gnarly things and resampling them. Tarnith says Steve should add a resample current sound to stereo wavetable and put it on A and B. Ooh. I mean, there is a resample to A and B stereo. Is that what that is? I don't know. Let's try it. Okay, I'm gonna turn this on. I feel like what that does, though, is probably sample everything and have the left channel be an oscillator A and the right one be an oscillator B. But let's try it. This is kind of why I love doing this, you guys, because people will always ask things that make me think, wait, I've never done it that way before. Let's make it very stereo so it's obvious and see what happens when we go. All right, let's. What just happened now? I don't know. Anyways, that just made it awful. So, oh yeah, I still have FM on. Good point. Still not the best results. I kind of prefer personally to sculpt my own stereo effects and not try and worry about replicating them with a split wavetable. That seems a little bit out of line, don't you think? Anyways, so I just made a cool bass sound and a riser, and I hope you guys maybe got out of that some neat ideas, but let's just try another interesting thing. And I go back to initializing the preset. You don't have to use vocal wavetables just to make interesting sounding wavetables. You could use a drum loop. So why don't we try actually using one of these more formulas? We're going to say import audio via dynamic pitch follow, because again, we're not trying to track a precise pitch thing. And I'm going to go and import one of my vocal drum loops, I think. So let's vocal drums, loop grooves. I've heard that Virtual Riot actually does this a lot to make his sounds. I cannot confirm, but let's just pick one. I don't even care. So, all right. That looks really unexciting, but let's figure that out. All right, let's pick a better one. That's clearly not a good one. Let me just audition them real quick, so I'm not just showing you something blind. So for this, I think we want to find a very drum-ish loop. Like, let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot my system audio does not like working with OBS. All right, cool. We're just doing this. We're doing it. In fact, we'll try Loop Groove 03. Or maybe I should just use an actual drum loop. I don't feel like searching for that right now. I know where this is. Fully. All right, that looks slightly more interesting. Let's try that. It's going to take a lot more work, but again, you can go through the same process as you would with a normal wavetable. I would definitely start out by removing the dead zones. This has got a lot of dead zone. That's why. I'm going to go to, let's say, there. Okay, now I'm going to normalize each gain separately. Oh. That's getting a little better. So, do the normal. Let's fade the edges. Anyways, the point is, you can put any audio source in and make it a wavetable. The question is, what do you want to get out of the character of the sound? The sound that I made before, I wanted specifically an ooh, ah, so I put those syllables together. If you want a very rhythmic thing, it can be really interesting to put a drum loop in, have the wavetable moving. Okay, I need to find a better one than this to show you guys. I'm being lazy. I apologize for that. Samples. I never use drum loops, so that's why I don't actually know where any of my drum loops are, because I never use them. These are fills, so this looks more promising. Why don't we try that? In fact, I'm just going to... Yeah. Let's just play with this. Oh, and there's also different resynthesis formulas. I'm not going to sit here and explain every single feature because you may never use this. You can read the freaking manual. This is how I learned everything I know. So let's just go into wherever that was. Drums. Fills. Let's see what that one. That looks way more interesting than me. But in the same way that you create movement and wobbles using filter cutoffs, think about this. You can create a wobble using the percussive transients of a drum loop made into a wavetable. So let's see if we can make something cool out of this. This looks a lot better than I'm gonna mine. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Whoa. I'm going to try normalizing and seeing if it looks any more better. Whoa. There we go. All right. This is horrible at the moment, but we can definitely work with this. You can see how if I continue to work on this, it has a percussive element to it. And so you could even use that as a background percussion layer, gate it, chop it up, just really play with the timing and rhythm using the wavetable position knob. Or make an interesting single hit sound, like a bass sound, just by the weird sonic fractals in that. So I'm going to load this up and play around with some FM as well. Still very scratchy, so I think I need to do a little bit of housekeeping here. That's getting better. So you see, once I start playing with warp modes on this weird percussive loop, you get these very interesting, crispy sort of womps and wobbles. And I have not touched a filter cutoff. You can layer it with a sub. And that's without even anything on it yet, right? So now we already have an interesting texture before we start doing the typical post-processing. So now I'm going to distort it and compress it. Now, let us resample that. Bing! Okay, so now, let's just zero this back. Ooh, that is actually kind of tasty. So now, of course, if I'm done resampling it, I'm not limited to a bar. And you're never limited to a bar. Just keep in mind that when the wavetable resamples, it's taking one full bar. So if you have it on quarter notes, it's going to go wah, 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 or whatever you're doing. And then we can start, wow, now that we've resampled this and we're using the warp modes, you get some really interesting textures. And we can start stacking. We can really keep going on this. So let's just play with some of these wavetables that are already included in my pack. And then I can say, whoa, take FM from B. So now we're frequency modulating a new one with this bounced and resampled. So you can see, I think, how you could get a really interesting modulated complex narrow track just from periodically building up wavetables with processing, resampling them, and having them frequency modulate each other. Again, I am not using the filter sections at all, and I'm getting this sound that a lot of people would tell you, oh, put an LFO to filter cutoff, do a bandpass, do all that normal stuff. You can do that stuff too. I mean, we are not limited. We can start stacking that. Sure, if you really want to do it, but know that you've already done something far more interesting and powerful and unique on your own. So I just want to open it up now. If anyone has any questions, thoughts, or observations, again, I'm not talking in the Twitch chat. If anyone's talking in the Twitch chat, you're all by yourself. I'm not there. I would love to answer any questions. So if that is all, the chat is very quiet. I'm going to assume that you're all at home learning your awesome wavetables. I will be hanging out in Discord in the voice chat, just goofing around for a bit. If any of you want to share your whips or anything, I would be more than happy to take a look at them. Is there any particular reason I'm defaulting to regular instead of multiband compression? Good question. No, totally use multiband compression. I just find multiband compression I like to sort of save for the point when I'm tweaking my sound in the mix. But it depends what it is, you know? Like maybe I put multiband on and I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to resample. But the only reason I'm not using multiband is just simplicity for this tutorial, and also like I would probably use a multiband on the sound that I finally left in there as a patch, not smash the patch to bits. Oh, we could keep going. I mean, all these delicious other tools that Serum has are great. And it's even more amazing to me that you can resample the movement of them and just keep going. So yeah, I would like to add multiples of each effect too. But for now that you know that you can resample to oscillators, hopefully that opens up a new world for you in making layers or patches. Because here's the honest truth. I see so many of you guys come in as new producers and, you know, looking to make crazy dubstep, looking to make crazy sound design. And 99% of the tutorials on the internet are going to say, oh, this is how you make this one Skrillex bass, step A, step B, go through this. And what they don't tell you is a lot of these guys, their secret is just resampling. Resampling is just such a powerful way to work, and it's nothing magic. It's literally just taking your effects and printing them, and therefore, you know, committing to them and then going from there. But the reason that is really powerful is because the limitations force you to make a choice. This is going to be a good time to end my stream because you may not be able to hear that my super nice neighbor is cutting my lawn directly in front of me. But the thing about resampling or anything that puts limitations and a finalization is it forces you to go in a new creative direction. You know, it's easy to have 130 different open MIDI channels. And, you know, I used to be very afraid of commitment in this musical sense. I never wanted to print anything. But printing, resampling is such a great way to make really gnarly sounds. And it will force you to go, okay, I've now done this crazy thing, and I can go any direction from here, but I can't go back. So, yes, I think that those of you watching who know, understand, and those of you who are learning, maybe this will open up a new way. Mess around with Serum, get a really cool sound, and then go back and resample the damn thing and go again. You know, just maybe spend a day and save your sounds in each stage. You know, I would, if I like this, I would save it so that I could go back, but then start printing and just see how many layers of resampling could you go. Um, Now that I've shown you guys at the end of the stream, I'll be hanging around in voice chat. If anybody in the next hour wants to pop in and show me a super cool patch that you've made, I will mail you a pack of EDMP stickers. That is a promise. So thank you so much for joining in on the stream wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. Please, if you haven't, come join us at EDMP Discord. We are doing this Splice event sponsored competition thing for another week. The contest deadline is July 1st. So we're going to have some amazing judges, including from our server, Frost and Admiral Bumblebee, as well as people from Black Octopus and I believe Splice. So work on your entries. Come and say hi in the voice chat. Come and hang out with us. I love you. We love you. And this is Alicia signing out. Thank you.